Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, what is going on? Welcome back to Aleagues with 1-0. We have an absolute belter of a show coming up for you today because we've got Melbourne City winning 1-0 against Perth Glory. Daniel Sturridge, is he still on a holiday? Where is he? Where's D Sturridge D? Well, we don't know. No one knows. We've got Melbourne victory with a huge win over rivals Adelaide United. 2-1 win. Magiotta getting on the score sheet. We've got Vishva Lupalai on the score sheet as well, scoring the winner. Robbie Cruz coming on, making an impact. Things maybe are ticking after that 3-0 loss to Perth Glory last week for the boys in blue. We've got MacArthur hitting absolutely unbelievable form this season, starting off unbelievably well. We've got Mariners beating Sydney FC. I don't know what's going on in the A-League anymore, but what I do know is that this Saturday is the Melbourne Derby, and there's only one team winning it, Melbourne Victory. I'll catch you after the intro. Ladies and gentlemen, what a round of the A-League we did just have. And before we do get into it, if you are new, please make sure to like, subscribe, do all that business, because I think we're like 20 subs away from hitting 500. So if we can hit 500 before the end of the season, give a bit of respect for the Ajax shirt as well. Got it at Ultra Football. Make sure to come down. New place opening in Abbotsford here in Melbourne if you're local. And I'll see you there because I work there. So I'll see you there. Mate, D-Sludger D, where you at? Melbourne City. People thought, okay, maybe the Melbourne City game, Daniel Sturridge will be back. No, he's still not here. I'm tired of talking about it, really. When he comes back, cool, he'll come back. But I think everybody's worst fears are coming true. I think maybe Daniel Sturridge, I don't know, we're being a little bit harsh on him because, yes, he didn't have a preseason. Yes, he only really got out of isolation a couple of weeks or a month ago now. But when you make all these excuses, when you sort of don't even want to be on the bench, when you can't be on the bench, when you don't get put on the bench. Yes, I know it's not his decision, but at the same time, surely you guys have those conversations where it's like, okay, maybe we should just put yourself on the bench and then you can get a couple minutes here and there, because when Daniel Sturridge does come back, does he come back and play 90 minutes? Probably not. Does he come back straight away and maybe just play 10 and then ease him way into it? I think that might be a bit more of a realistic way. So then we could be saying, oh my gosh, when's he got to start? So I think right now we've just got to leave it, see how it goes. Leave it as it is, and then we can continue. But focusing on the team that beat Perth Glory on Wednesday night was Melbourne City, and Melbourne City they got the 1-0 win, but they still just look a little bit rusty. Something just isn't really clicking for them. Kolakovsky, I've been a bit disappointed that he hasn't been really able to play. Tilio got the start, which was good. I think him playing through that 10 role was quite interesting. He does turn the ball over a little bit too much though, but Matthew Lecky's the concern, but I don't think it's too much to be concerned about, but I think he's the one that's sort of like, okay, you've got to start performing a little bit, Lex, because Boots got on the score sheet a couple of times, like McLaren's got on the score sheet, but at the same time, I think that whole front three, as they are, I think need to improve individually and as a front three forward line. So they've got a huge game on the weekend, which we'll touch on later on, but I think for Melbourne City, I think there's a couple of things that they need to do to really get themselves back to where they know they can be. But as we said very early on in the season, we had Newcastle Jets with a 4-0 win over Wellington. Unbelievable performance for Newcastle. The stadium was pumping as well. I think Newcastle could surprise quite a few. I think in the attacking front, they're quite good, but they can be quite prone to conceding some goals here and there. But 4-0 win, clean sheet. I think Newcastle could surprise a few this season. Then we've got to go to, before we get into the original rivalry, we've got to get to MacArthur versus Western Sydney Wanderers. And Wanderers, I think Carl Robertson, I think his writing's on the wall. I'd pull money, don't condone betting, but I'd pull money that he's the first manager to get sacked in the A-League men's competition. I think Wanderers I had high expectations for them. I like their team, but Carl Robertson just doesn't know what he's doing, does he? Like, let's be honest. Doesn't know what he's doing. Like, you've got some good players in there, man, but like, they just look so static when they're going in the attack. Bernie Abini did some good stuff, but yet again, is he really offering what they want him to? Terry Antonis was Rodwell was just really nothing's really working for Wanderers, and I think Carl Robinson, unfortunately, will take a lot of the blame because it doesn't really look like they have a plan. You look at the other team, MacArthur, and boy, they look good. They look very, very good. And maybe I disrespected them at the start of the season where I had them just outside the 6, but MacArthur looks strong. I think De Silva, L.A. Rose, we all know I love L.A. Rose. He's got Lachlan Rose on the back. but he's got LA Rose, and I'm thinking it's because he wants to be a bit Hollywood and he puts LA Rose on the back. I think that's quite cool. I think they've got some characters in the team. They obviously signed Muddy up by the Jamaican fullback, former Watford player also, who's got to bring in some expertise, leadership, knowledge, and experience to that team. I think De Silva, a great player in that attacking role. We all know Ulysses De Villa also, what he can do, the Mexican. I think MacArthur, they're currently sitting on top of the ladder. 2-0 win that breezed past Western Sydney Wanderers, and they could have probably scored more. I think MacArthur are on for a good show. And then before we get into the Melbourne Victory game again, because I'm happy about it, let's go to the other New South Wales teams, because Central Coast Mariners beat Sydney FC 2-0. The writing is on the wall for Sydney FC. As Jeff Hardy used to say, no more words. Yes, it's very early on in the season. They have announced yesterday, or at the point of recording this, Costa Barbarouses will have to miss out, I think, for another 6 weeks. So there's another injury that continues to grow. They've still got a couple players out. I think the Luke Braddon injury is the one that really is hurting them, because that midfield doesn't even look like half the midfield that we know that can be. I think Luke Braddon, it's showing the importance of his footballing ability in that midfield. With him missing, I think Sydney FC look a little bit lost. On the other hand, credit to Central Coast Mariners, a 2-0 win. They kept Sydney FC scoreless. They put 2 past Sydney FC. They continue some good form. I think Mariners will have this sort of season, a bit of bouncing in between, a couple good games, couple bad games, go on a good run, then they lose a game that they should have won, and they just got to yo-yo a little bit up and down the ladder. Sydney FC, on the other hand, though, very interesting. Very, very interesting where they are. Steve Corica, what's he going to do? I had my criticisms of him last Aleagues with 1-0 show, because I don't think he likes change, and I think he's quite stubborn maybe in his approach to managing and coaching, and I don't think he really wants to change things when they're not working well, which could come back to bite him in the backside, for a lesser term of analogies. But when we're talking about top-tier managers and we're talking about top-team clubs, let's go to Melbourne Victory, because we had a 2-1 win over Adelaide United at Cooper Stadium. And let me tell you a little something. That game had fire. It had fire in it. It had very early stuff on. Yengi pretty much got it all off and running. He falls down in the box. Nobody touched him. Get up, son. Miranda wasn't happy about it. Sporanovic, I think, was a great inclusion coming back, because we saw last week with Broxham and Garia having to play centre-back. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. I think Sporanovic was great in centre-back. I think Miranda was great in centre-back. It's going to be interesting when Hamill comes back, because Hamill was superb in his first couple of games before getting injured. So it's going to be interesting who gets the nod there. I think Hamill might come in for Sporanovic, but I think it'll be just a bit of a rotation. Disappointing part is Jason Davidson, the red card. It was silly. It's a red, 2 yellows. I think he deserved it, but it's annoying because he's got to miss out on the Melbourne derby, which we'll get onto later in the show, so stick around for that. But I think if I'm a Victory fan, and I think the best thing that I can see at Victory right now is a connection with the players and the fans once again. It's been a couple of years since there's been a bit of a disconnect. But you're looking at Calava, the goalkeeper. When he saved the shot and he got up and he's cheering and he's like, come on. That's what you want to see from a player. Jason Davidson screams. He's just a rat, and I love it. You can tell he plays for the badge. He plays for the team. He plays for the players. And that's exactly what you want from a player like that. Lee Broxham, obviously we know he gets it. He's a Melbourne Victory man through and through. Huge for Magiotta to get off the score sheet. His first start for Melbourne Victory. Yes, it was a neat little finish. One of the easier goals he'll probably score this season, but hey, he got on the score sheet. And another positive, Velupalai. He scored in every game of the preseason for Melbourne Victory this year. He came on, was an effective sub. Robbie Cruz, another effective sub that came on from Tony Popovic. Bang, 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 bang. Tap in, 2-1. Thanks for coming. Melbourne Victory runs Adelaide. Mon the bloody Vuk. Now we're going to take a look at next week's fixtures. We've got Friday night, a Western United versus Adelaide United game. The battle of the Uniteds. It's at Amy Park, Western United's home game. I think Western United might get the job done. If not, I think it could be a 1-1 draw. Mariners versus Western Sydney. And this is another huge game for Wanderers, because it's a game that on paper they really should be winning, but it's a game that I see Central Coast Mariners winning. I think Mariners will get the job done. Over the last couple of weeks, Mariners have been up and down with the results. They have not really consistent. And as I said previously, I think that might be the way forward for Mariners. Not really going to play consistent football, but they're not going to be an easy beat, but they're not going to, I think they'll struggle to beat the top teams. Then, before we get to the Melbourne derby, we've got Brisbane Roar versus Perth Glory. Brisbane's at home. I think Brisbane might win. I think Brisbane could get the job done. Perth are another interesting team also because they're good and bad. And I know it's not the best analysis, but I think Brisbane Roar at home didn't play last week. The game got postponed against Western United. I think Brisbane Roar get the job done. Maybe a 1-0 win, keep Perth scoreless. I think Fauna Rowley, he's been a bit hit and miss this season. Obviously killed Melbourne Victory, but he struggled a little bit against City, and he's an absolute rat to play against. MacArthur versus Newcastle Jets. Once again, the battle of the New South Wales teams. I think MacArthur get a 3-2 win. I can see goals in this game. I think Newcastle Jets, Arthur Pappas' team, they're playing attacking football. And with that comes a negative on the defensive front. And I think that's where they've got to sort of bite themselves a little bit. I think MacArthur will get the win. 3-2 win. Ulysses De Villa to get on the score sheet. I think Da Silva to get on the score sheet. And my man, L.A. Rose. I think it could be all right for MacArthur. And I think they could do well this season. Can MacArthur win the league? I'm not sure. We had the Melbourne City, a new team to win the league last year. Can we get MacArthur FC, obviously another new team to the A-League men's competition, win it this year? Then we've got Sydney FC versus Wellington. I think Sydney FC get their season back on track with a comfortable win. But we'll go to the Melbourne Derby, the huge Melbourne Derby game. Melbourne City's home game. Melbourne Victory fans, they're going to be pumping. It's not a Victory home game, but Victory, we know they run Melbourne. I think this is the best time for Victory to sort of embarrass City after last year's performances. We all know what happened last year, 6-0, 7-0. Disgraceful. How that happened, I don't know. I do know because we sucked. But I think Jason Davidson is a huge loss. And you look, and as I mentioned the front three, and I said that they haven't been that great, but at the same time, they've got the ability to turn it on whenever. So you're looking at now probably a Stefan Negro having to come into left back, or a Lee Broxham coming into left back. Who does Popovic go with? I'm not too sure. I wouldn't be surprised if Broxham then gets shifted to a left back because you have Ryan Marchand back in the midfield, which I think is an important inclusion. And it's probably be the first time we get to see a full game, hopefully, with that midfield of Brillante, Brimmer, and Marchand. And I think that's a cracking middle three. You've got the perfect balance there. Margiotta obviously started on the weekend. I think he'll get the start again. Marco Rojas will get the start also. And I think hopefully Chris Economides is fit and he can start as well. So that front six, almost, that attacking sort of half from the midfield to the front three is quite solid. Hopefully Hamill can come back by the weekend. Who starts there, Sporanovic or Hamill? I think Sporanovic might get the start. But at the same time, I think Brendan Hamill actually might. I'll take it back. I think Brendan Hamill might get the start there. I think it's going to be an absolute arm wrestle. Deep down, my heart says it's a 1-1 draw or a 0-0 draw. I don't see plenty of goals. I think there's got to be both teams. I think his Norbo and Popovic, I think they've got to build a bit of a rivalry. I think the game could get quite scrappy. I think Nathaniel Atkinson could start to scruffle a few feathers here and there. We know what he's like a little bit. I think Ryan Marchand might go in for a couple of hard challenges. Josh Brillante, former club, he might have some bad blood there also. I think Victory will get the win 2-1, but deep down I can see a 1-1 happening. I don't know. I think Melbourne Victory versus Melbourne City. I don't think it's going to be a 6-0 win. I think it's going to be a 7-0 win to Melbourne City. Melbourne City haven't really started the season off that well. They've got results, but they haven't played to the best that they can. It's still very early on in the season. The clubs are still finding their way. We've had a huge pre-season, obviously. I think Melbourne Victory get the win 2-1, or it's a 1-1. I'm not too sure. Let me know in the comments down below. If you're going to the game, give me a shout because unfortunately I can't attend. Send through your videos to 1-0 Instagram. Drop in your predictions down below of the video. What is your prediction for the Melbourne Derby? The huge game. Huge Melbourne Derby. Who's going to win it? Let me know. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Costa. This is 1-0. Deuces.